Hey there, this is Evan with EB3D Printing. This video is going to be a bit different than my normal 3D printing videos, as you can tell already. I was trying to think of ways to come up with videos to produce to fill the gaps between my 3D printing videos. With the 3D printing videos, they have such an irregular release between them that, I wanted to get something out there that would fill the gap. This is one of the ideas that I've come up with. Fusion 360 part design practice. Now, I'm no expert with Fusion 360, but I feel like I have a good enough knowledge to use it for the parts that I design for 3D printing. Now, this series is not going to be an all-encompassing guide. It's not going to focus on the nuts and bolts of Fusion 360. It's not going to tell you about like sketch constraints. It's not going to tell you how to extrude. It's not going to tell you, it's going to assume you kind of have that knowledge already. If you need that knowledge, I will link to a few of my favorite series from different producers that already go through the nuts and bolts of Fusion 360. And then you can come back to my series after watching them. The reason why I chose Fusion 360 is it's one of the more popular 3D CAD programs out there for the hobbyist 3D printer, all because of its free personal use license that is good for up to a year. When I was looking for similar style videos of taking a 2D technical drawing and turning it into a 3D object, there are plenty of SolidWorks focused channels out there, but very few that focus on 3D Fusion 360. Now, I'm hoping this will be a popular series and people enjoy the videos of me going through the process of taking a 2D sketch, turning it into a 3D object. If this is something you would like and you would like me to continue this series going forward after this video, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. But that's enough for me. Let's get into this drawing. So here we are in Fusion 360. First thing we're going to do is check the document settings. We're going to make sure we're in millimeters. If we're not, we're going to go over here to unit type and we're going to select millimeters. We are already in millimeter, so we don't have to select that. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to save the document, Control S, and you save this as exercise 01 and click save. So now we have our document saved. Let's check out the part we're going to design. So over here, this is the first part we're going to design. Feel free to pause the video at this point and hop back over to Fusion 360 to see if you can figure out designing this part yourself. And then after you've got it designed or not, come back over to this video and finish up to see how I went about designing this part. I like to design all my parts from the ground up. Starting with this base feature here, we're going to look and see that it has a 63 width, a 100 millimeter length, and a 12 millimeter thickness. There are also two 25 millimeter fillets on each of these corners here, along with two 12 millimeter holes that go through the whole thickness of the base plate. So let's hop back over to Fusion 360. Back over here in Fusion 360, we're going to click Create Sketch. We're going to choose this XY plane or top plane, whichever you'd like to call it. We're going to click Create Rectangle, change that to a center point rectangle, and we're going to select the origin. We're going to type in 100 for the length, and we're going to type in 63 for the width. And we're going to click OK. Next up, we're going to put two fillets on here. We're going to select these two lines and then these two lines. We're going to change this radius to 25. We're going to make sure two lines are selected so it's tangent with all four corners here. And we're going to click OK. All right. Next up, we're going to put our two 12 millimeter circles in. Now these are concentric with the fillets. So we'll type in 12 here. We'll hit right click, repeat center diameter, and we'll click 12 millimeter here. Now there's another way we could do this. We could delete this dimension and we could select this circle and hit equal. So now they are both 12 millimeters. Next up, we are done with the base, so we're going to extrude this. So we're going to hit E, the shortcut for extrude. We're going to select the outline of the base, and then we're going to type in 12 millimeters and click OK. So now our base is done. Let's go back over to the sketch and see what's next. Back over the sketch here, we're going to create this vertical piece here. We're going to start with a back plate and this circle. We're going to draw them in one sketch. So we're looking at a 90 millimeter height to the center point of this circle. For the circle, we have an outer diameter of 50 and an inner diameter of 25. We have two tangent fillets here, or two tangent ribs here, with a 10 millimeter thickness. We also have a front rib that is from the center line of the circle to the center line of the base, which is 10 millimeter thickness. Let's go back over to Fusion 360. Back over here in Fusion 360, we're going to rotate the part around. We're going to select this face. We're going to create an offset plane of 0. All right, now we're going to create a sketch on this plane. What we're going to do is we're going to select this top line and select this line. We're going to hit Shift P, which is my shortcut for project. If you don't have a shortcut set up, what you can do is select these two with Shift left click, go over here to create, project include, and hit project. All right, so now we have these two lines projected onto the sketch for reference. What we're going to do now is going to create a construction line, make this 90 millimeters tall for the center point of the circle. Next up, we're going to create two circles, unclick construction. The first one we're going to make 50. The second one we're going to make 25. So now we have our two circles drawn. We need to make two tangents for the ribs. So we have one there, repeat line, one over here, go up till it is tangent. And now we're going to hit E for extrude. This circle here, we're going to extrude -44 for the width of the, or for the depth of the circle. Create new body, and click OK. Next up, we're going to go back over here to show the sketch again. Going to hit E for extrude again and hit -10. We're going to make sure this is on join, so it joins both the top body and the lower body here, and we're going to click OK. So that is it for the vertical part. The next up we're going to do this front rib here, and how we're going to do the front rib is we're going to show the origin, click on this plane, which is the ZY plane, and click create sketch. Again, we're going to project features. We're going to project this line with Shift P. We're going to turn these construction and click OK. After that, we're going to click line, and we're going to connect these two lines. Now, if it's still in construction, easiest way to do this is click the line and unclick construction. And now that we have our reference line in place, it's fully constrained. We'll go over here to solid, hit the drop down of create, and click on rib. All right. Now for the curve, we're going to select this line here. For the width, we're going to do 10. And we're going to make sure it's selected to up to next. And as you can see, it's projected. The next thing we want to do is we want to make sure it's symmetric. Now, one dimension will change the direction that it's in. And then we want to make sure it's symmetric. So there we are. And now we are done with the rib. Let's go back over the sketch and see the next item we need to add. The next thing we're going to work on is we're going to work on this top rectangle here that attaches to the top cylinder. So we're going to look here. We have a width of 12, a width of 12, and then a gap of 3. So that's 27. For thickness, we have a total depth of 32. And for a height, we have 48 from the center point of this circle. we have a 12 millimeter circle here that cuts through both parts of the rectangle with a 16 millimeter offset from the front and a 12 millimeter offset from the top. These rectangles have a 6 millimeter offset from the front of the circle here. So let's go back over to Fusion 360 and design this rectangle. Back over here in Fusion 360, what we're going to do is we're going to hide this sketch. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to select this YZ plane, create sketch. We're going to center our part. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to make a reference for the axis of this center cylinder here. So we're going to highlight this, select this center cylinder, hit Shift P, and click OK. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a construction line from the midpoint of this line straight across to the midpoint of that line. This construction line here is going to act as a reference point for the axis of this center cylinder. So we'll select left plane, we'll click this cylinder, we'll hit Shift P again to project the cylinder onto the sketch, and we'll click OK. Next up, we're going to uncheck line type of construction. We're going to click 2-point rectangle, and we're just going to draw a 2-point rectangle here. So the first dimension we're going to do is we're going to make sure this is 32 millimeters wide. The next dimension we're going to do is go from this center point here up to the top, and we're going to make sure this is 48. Okay, so now we have that set up. Next we're going to do is we're going to make sure this dimension right here is 6 millimeters. That means our rectangle is now fully defined. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create our circle cutout, cylinder cutout on this rectangle. This is a 12 diameter circle. And again, for reference points, we're going to diameter this as 16, which is the midpoint. And then also diameter this. Nope. We're going to hit that D for our dimension again. And we're going to dimension this to 12 millimeters. So now that we have our center rectangle done, we got to remember we're going to extrude this. We're going to make sure it's symmetric. We're going to select whole length, and this is going to have a 27 millimeter width. Now it's going to cut because we have it dimensioned down into the circle. And the reason why we have it dimensioned down into the circle is so that way it actually joins instead of having a lip here after we extrude it. I'll go back through and show you if we bring this up with a coincident constraint of this with the top of the cylinder here. When we extrude this, again, symmetric, whole length, 27 millimeters, and then we hit join, you can see there's a lip here, and we don't want the lip in the final design. So what we're going to do is we're just going to bring this down in a few millimeters. We can dimension this so it's fully constrained. We'll make this 5 millimeters for a total width. Now our sketch is fully constrained. Go back over here, hit E. Again, symmetric, distance, whole length, 27 millimeters. And then we're going to hit join. And that is our top rectangle done. So the last part of this sketch, we'll go back over to see. The last part of the sketch is we're going to create this 3 millimeter gap here. And it's very simple. We're going to go back over to Fusion 360 and get this done. Back over here in Fusion 360, we're just going to select this front surface here and click Create Sketch. It's going to center for us. What we're going to do is we are going to reference this top line by projecting it. Shift P, and here's a project. Next thing we're going to do is create a construction center line of this top line down to the center point of this circle. And then we're going to hit X to unselect construction, and we're going to create a 2-point rectangle from this top reference line to the axis of the center cylinder. We're going to select this point and this bottom line here. We're going to make this coincident, so that way that's fully constrained. And then we're going to select this line, this edge, and the center construction line that we put in earlier. We're going to hit symmetry. That'll make this distance, these two distances here between the center line, equal. And then we're going to make this a total width between these two lines of 3 millimeters. So now our center gap is fully constrained. Now we'll hit E. We'll select this, select this, select this. We'll hit distance. We'll go through all, and then we'll make sure it's flipped so that way it cuts completely through the object. And we will select OK. We'll select home here, and that is our sketch, 2D sketch completed into 3D object using Fusion 360. Now we can go over here to bodies. We can add appearances if we want to. We can go down here to metal. We'll make this, I like brass. We'll make it polished brass. Bring this up here. Select the feature, and there is our object in polished brass. So that is it for the first Fusion Friday part design tutorial. Again, I'm just testing the waters here with this style video. If this is something you guys would like to see me produce more of going forward, please, I appreciate any and all feedback. So if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. If you like this content and would like to see me produce more of it, you guys know what to do with the whole like, subscribe, and everything like that. You don't need to hear it again. So if you would like to support this channel and help me grow so I can produce more content like this and produce more 3D printed focused content, I have links to do so in the description. But as always, that's enough for me. I'll see you in the next one.